Oh my god, I didn't think it was possible. Oh my god. Uh, okay. I think I need to switch my audio device. I think I can use this DJI. Not guaranteed though. I'm not stopping the stream. Anyway, so. Hello, OBS Infinite Horizon. What does that mean? Well, before I start the official stream, I think I can just talk about what just happened. I basically like re-logged in my account, and it started working. I don't know why. But what I found, just for the record and maybe for the reference of future like Chinese streamers on YouTube, what I basically found is that although, oh my, what is this? Okay, it is recommending a better bit rate. So, I don't know. I has a window. Ah, yeah. OBS. So what's that? Recursion. I'll call that recurring OBS. Yeah. Because it's like in computer science terms, like yeah. Yeah. So basically, although the like URL, I think, of the stream is this, the IP address actually rotates. Come on. Come on. That one's my printer service. It connects my computer to a certain printer so that I can print. Yeah, it's oversimplified explanation, but it keeps trying to update itself, I think. The thing is that this IP address rotates, which basically means it's lottery. I tried like a ton of different configurations, but every time I found that it works after a configuration change, so I started recording to save that configuration for reference in the future, but when I return to that configuration, like man, turn off and turn on my computer again, and return to that configuration, it doesn't work. It was not until I switch on this verbose option that I found the problem, the culprit, which is the rotating IP address. For some reason, I can only connect to some YouTube like streaming servers, which is really weird. Or OBS Cascade, yeah, which is really, really weird. And I don't have a better way to combat this other than just bombard YouTube with like a lot of connections and changing some like DNS settings between them so that every time I get a different IP address, because if I just click start and it fails and then click start again, it fails again, I will find that it's trying to connect to the same server. So that is that. And there are actually 3 different failure modes depending on like 3 kind of server you're connecting to. One is that it fails immediately and said cannot connect to server. And the second is that I think it says it sends an invalid SSL certificate. And the third is it times out after 30 seconds, which is really annoying because after like 5 seconds, I know it is entering this 30-second mode and I have to wait this time to reach 30 seconds before I can start the next click. And yeah, and it really doesn't make sense to me. I'm not like super tech savvy, but I'm like a little tech savvy. But with my current level of tech savviness, I cannot like find out why. I try to reconfigure my proxy. I try to like I even updated my proxy servers, like what's that called? Libraries. Like I do a YUM update, update, and I upgrade everything. Doesn't work. And there is this. It is in Chinese, but basically it's a very long connection failure, like error message, and it appears immediately, and it repeats when you connect to the same server. So this is a different failure mode. This one's really rare, and I think it only occurs when you connect to a certain servers. It's really like those like game loot boxes. You got a very common like item that is basically garbage, and you get something rarer and something even rarer, like something more rare and something even more rare, and like at the tip of like the possibility pyramid is the connection success and you are alive. And that only appears like 1% of the time. And because there is the possibility of the like 30-second timeout, I can only do like 1 attempt every minute. So I actually started like 1.5 hours ago and keep bombarding like live stream attempts. That's the only thing I can think of. And one thing is that if you want to live stream on OBS to YouTube, you not only need a VPN service. I don't know if you can use like NordVPN or something. Of course, this live stream is not sponsored, but I think just NordVPN just appears on like a lot of YouTube videos as sponsored. So I'm familiar with that. And another is like ExpressVPN. Or before you, like me, set up my own, I actually set up this VPN just for myself. It works fine with a little bit of problems, but it works fine most of the time. But it basically is an absolute no-go when you want to stream because it only works with your browser. That's what I can know. So, like, this is the information that is irrelevant to 99%, 99.9% of the viewers. This is just for like people who happens to want to stream from China. I'm recording this just for like the record. So if someone else faced the same question, the same problem, there is like one website that like I actually posted on the, I think it's like discussion section like yesterday, that really is misleading. for anyone who's your family. I don't know. Emmett Turner. Are you the one who like posted the comment about Hu Jintao in the last video? I don't know what happened to him. It's really strange. There's no news ever anywhere, not only inside like the Great Firewall, but also if something really serious happened to him, I'm like on YouTube, like watching videos all day, and I think I would have seen some headlines. So I really don't know. So where were we? So I've been like bombarding this for an hour, and yeah, and the proxy fire. The proxy fire is the key. There is a certain website online saying you need to choose HLS, which is misleading, outright misleading. I spent like half an hour trying to get HLS working because that seems promising. Streaming through HTTPS, which should be like any like browser traffic and should be redirected by my proxy, but that doesn't work. What's worse is that when you switch on HLS, no matter whether you have like a connection to YouTube, OBS will tell you that you are live, but you are not. You will see this green thing here. You will see this like live. You will see a lot of like lost frames, like here. I really should have switched everything to English, but this is like for Chinese streamers only. I've got 3 minutes for that. So anyway, but the one thing that you won't get is live on YouTube. The one thing that you won't get is here. The one place that you won't get is here. So currently, this is my solution. Just bombard YouTube with attempts and you will get one. But it is just so tedious that I don't know, honestly, I don't know whether I'm going to stream ever again. I streamed this time and I'm determined to do it because I made the promise that there will be a stream. But it is still unknown whether I can find a better way that doesn't take hours and whether I will ever stream again. I think YouTube can stream just through the browser, but I don't think that gives me a lot of like options, like whether I can use like a webcam to show my face and show some other stuff. By the way, I'm connecting the webcam now, in case you might be interested in something in like real life, like the motherboard. I just fixed another bug. I'm switching to like the motherboard Z80 related contents now, but I've got a few points about the streaming. So I did a weekly live stream on channel and for a number of months. So yeah, and the final thing is about the Great Firewall. Hello, Andy. Hello, HBox21. Everything is difficult to start. So the final thing is about the GFW. I have something to debunk here. Like, I know like the Polymatter video, I think it's about like what we call 20which is like the Chinese Communist Party like congression thing. And in that video, he said specifically that the government banned all VPN that is used by foreigners and tech-savvy people, like in normal times. So all VPNs don't work now. I don't have any problems with that. But I did set up my own VPN. I think they ban all like big names and people who provide their VPN to others, but that is under like constant screening. If you like, it's 1700. This is UK time, and it's really strange. It's not my time. It is like 0 o'clock. I'm like October the 24th now, like, but I have to finish up about like the GFW thing. So it's like if you provide your own VPN server to others, I think there is something like every 1 month to 2 months you will be taken down. I don't know what will happen to you personally, but smaller names VPN doesn't survive more than like 1 or 2 months, and probably before the congression they just did like a normal screening, take down some servers, cut a lot of people off, like normal stuff, but maybe stricter. But my VPN works because it's just one person, and honestly, I don't think it's like Chinese is as secret as 80 or more % of people thinks. And it's not like some Chinese people think that when you go on YouTube, you will be bombarded with Western propaganda and you will be like anti-China in a second. I'm on YouTube for years, and I just feel that I have a better understanding of not only China but also the world. So here concludes all the internet stuff. What got you into it? Yeah, I think it's what really got me into it is Ben Eater. I wanted to say the 8-bit guy, but no, it's the Ben Eater. Wait a second. I'm adding a camera. Here we go. Hello? Andy here. Come on. Come on, yeah, that's a Tesla coil back there. I've got an engineering background, as people say. So I mean, I first watched Ben Eater's video on making your own 6502 computer, because that is not like retro computing. That is just like homebrew tech stuff. Yeah, camera, yeah. So so I was like tech savvy, and I was into all things related to technology. So like watching that Ben Eater video is natural for me. But then I got into the 8-bit guy, and you will see how much I watch the 8-bit guy, because when I type Y in my browser, and the first thing Adric 22, it is that level. So I will search the Z80, and I watch a lot of stuff. Yeah, like late night talk shows. Yeah. What, Z80? Z80 homebrew computer, Z80. I will. It is strange to search. Oh my goodness. 440K views. You know what? I think I'm just going to change some settings. I don't know if I'll expose anything personal here, but I'm just like not showing the screen. I think somewhere come on. I can set my YouTube to language to be in English. Oh, come on. How to set to language. Yep. Change language or location settings. Profile picture. Oh, yeah. I don't need to go into settings. Come on. English, US. Oh my goodness! Wow. The chat section is a little bit. My first time I got it was a BBC Micro, great machine. So, like, how many of you get into retro computing after retro computing? I'm just asking a few people, but how many of you are like me? Because I am literally born after retro computing. I'm literally born after, like, the last thing that you would consider retro computing I would draw that line at, I'm trying to think. I would say PlayStation is the start of new computing. So I would draw that line at about Amiga 1200. How many of you have like entered like retro computing after the Amiga ended its production? David Murray, yeah, executive workstation. Yeah, that got a lot of criticism for him. I I I kind of think that is reckless. I don't know whether that's the correct word because I'm not a native speaker, but from what I know, it's called reckless behavior. But I think of course, he did not do that intentionally. Not like the music keyboard, like he almost intentionally chose to destroy. And there is that old like laptop, like iBook thing, but that is even older. I have seen like a few dark pages of the 8-bit guy, and there's also the fact that I'm actually kind of a competitor to him in terms of we have like competing retro computer projects, but I still like his videos still. Many retro hobbies like computers they like the computers they grew up with, yes. So more like after Sega stopped making consoles. If you put Sega, you need to include Dreamcast, which is really late into the game, into the timeline. It is like, I don't know about generation. I think Famicom is third, SNES and Genesis is fourth. Like, I think PlayStation is fifth, and Xbox, PlayStation 2, and Dreamcast is sixth. So that gets into sixth generation and well into 3D gaming. And I know it's a lot of debate. I mean, OG Xboxes, retro gaming, everybody accept that. But when you say retro computing, I think that implies you are talking about computers, and pretty much Amiga 1200 is like the last retro computer, I think. And after that, there's no home computers. I think the Atari Falcon appeared after that, appeared after the Amiga 1200, but I think it ended production like before it. I met Dave Murray in prison and Clint from LGR. Did you go to the VCF? I really wanted to do that, but it's not a great idea to travel to America from China. It is just too much hustle. I still think the BBC is one of the best microcomputers ever made. I would call that like controversial, like a controversial speech. If there are a lot of like different computer lovers now, I would think that you will get into the argument and like fill up, and that argument will fill up this like discussion section really quick, like this chat section really quick. But I think BBC Micro is unique because it is the only like mass-produced home computer that I know of that use a 2 megahertz 6502 run in 100% of time. The Atari, they run their 6502 at 1.79 megahertz, but when you take into the consideration of the Antic DMA and the Antic memory refresh, it only runs at like 0.89 megahertz. Oh, at computer reset. Computer reset closed. 2 processors, network, and one's the best base ever made. Yeah, but it is. I want to quote like David Murray at this, like the AP guy at this point. It's like programmers target the basic system. It's like because I don't have a good understanding of the like computing landscape back in the day. Today you buy a computer and you kind of naturally buy a lot of accessories, or not. If you are just using that for work, you just need a like very basic speaker and a screen. But nowadays you buy graphics card, you upgrade graphics card, you upgrade RAM, you upgrade even the keyboard and mouse for it. But back in the day, how many people were using the tube bus? That's the problem. How many people were connecting a Z80 or the empty building was so Let me have a moment of silence here. Yeah, it's like, oh my God. Is there any hardware that you need? I kind of need a lot of hardware. And the biggest problem is shipping. International shipping these days takes incredibly long time, and even if I open up donation, I wouldn't be able to get them in time. I don't think a lot of people want to donate to me yet. But if they do, it will take months before they arrive, and there is a possibility that they don't know, that they don't arrive. And I also want to ask a question: how was that building emptied? It was like one of the, oh my God, it was like one of the, I would call it one of the, it's not one of the holy grail of things, because the holy grail, I think, is used to refer to things. One of like the holy places for retro computing. And I don't know, did they just throw them into landfill? Because if they did, from Brazil, Facebook buy and sell still active for and came from there. So where's the new warehouse? It's like, where's the new warehouse? If they end up in landfill, my first reaction is, when I got enough money, I will buy that landfill and dig up those computers, like they dig up the Atari cartridges. And yeah, That's kind of my first reaction. So back to the BBC Micro. Every other computers that run at like a high clock with 6502, they alternate like CPU and like some other devices access. So I think I'll dedicate half an hour to answering these questions. And the BBC Micro, it basically, I would call it a cheater. It cheated by arriving at the market so late that Hitachi could make 4 megahertz DRAM. I know this is controversial, but I mean, and I know if you just do number crunching stuff, you can turn off the graphics of an Atari 400 and run that at 1.79 megahertz, and that would almost match the speed of the BBC Micro, but it's not practical. And after I programmed for the Atari, I really understand the importance of memory bandwidth. I know a website, they list the consoles with their memory bandwidth. Like, I didn't know why at first, and I thought it was pretty hilarious, like listing like 10 or like 20 megabytes for some 16-bit consoles, and like I kind of like Neo Geo, they have 24-bit bus, so it is really hard to determine the total bandwidth of all bus. And then I started programming, and I thought, oh my god, it's like memory bandwidth is the thing that determines the performance. Why is the Commodore so great? Think about it. Because although its CPU is clocked at 1 megahertz, I'm talking about the Commodore 64, and its memory is clocked at 2 megahertz. Like 2 mega accesses per second. And think about Famicom or NES. It's got a 1.79 megahertz CPU, but it is uninterrupted. It does not share the bus with other devices like the graphics subsystem or some DMA or some stuff. It uses SRAM, so it doesn't need refresh. And it is PPU access memory separately, so it essentially doubles the bandwidth. So I would say that the Famicom have like the optimal graphics for and sound for an 8-bit system. I know it is even more controversial. I mean, the Famicom wouldn't make a good computer. It cannot even display a full bitmap, but I really liked it, and I have a pending project on netsdev.com. If you have seen a certain project called Famicom Crossfire, that's me. I just this thing literally killed it. I just got back to this project. I started this project a long time ago, and I do a lot of projects in between. And I got back to this project and holded all of those projects. So, yeah, I think this one is. I think this one's better because that one is like an enhancement in terms of graphics and a little bit of sound, and make that a home computer instead of a game console. But this is like, I would call it revolutionary. But yeah, so watching from Wales, liquidation was close to the building while putting the least amount of liquidation was to close the building A hug from Brazil, yeah. I was going to ask about Ben the 6502. I had an interest in it, but it is proving to be my gateway to. You know what? There is an unrevealed project right here. Guess what? This is a Ben Eater 6502, partially cloned, partially enhanced. So it runs at 1 megahertz and have, I think, 8 kilobytes of RAM, 8 kilobytes of ROM. It is less RAM and less ROM than the Ben Eater computer, but he never used full part of it. So I think I would just save some RAM here. And the original intention of this is to go from a Ben Eater 6502 computer or something that is close enough to it and make it a Commodore PET, because I think the Commodore PET is close enough to a simple design of a 6502 computer that I can move from here to there with an addition of a video circuitry that is kind of even simpler than this Ben Eater design, because it only needs to handle character, not like a 256 or in his video series, 64 color video mode. It only needs to handle characters, and it would be super. I think the word I think is bonkers. It's like super cool to see like Attack of the Pesky robots running on a breadboard computer. It's like, oh my god, I made a computer, it runs Attack of the Pesky robots. Well, the usual 60-minute computer. In China back in the day, nothing. I would say, sit here and go, nothing. There is the PC. We have the very ingenious, the Great Wall 0520CH. It is a PC XT that can display Chinese characters. We basically did what NEC did when they created the PC98. The PC98 is designed to be a computer that can display what I think it's Japanese called kanji, whatever. I'm terrible at Japanese. I don't know Japanese really. Basically, it's Chinese characters, and I kind of think that is just Hanzi in like Japanese. So but they made a incompatible system. We made a compatible system. The 0520 is compatible with the XT, but it adds a video mode on top of it. Some variant of DOS. Yes. If you talk specifically about Chinese PCs, we have the UC DOS. If my computer is not hooked up with a cable, because I want more stable like internet, I can show you there is a line of computers there, and some of them have a Chinese DOS called UC DOS. And the later version of UC DOS is really Windows. It has graphics API. It has like, you can do Windows-based program in it, but it chose to stay in the command line form factor or interface, if you want to call it. I think it's to avoid competing with Microsoft Windows 95, which has a Chinese like version. I think they know that they're not going to compete with this giant called Microsoft. By the way, I will say one thing back about the Ben Eater 6502. Ben Eater's video is like I know I'm making controversial claims again, but I think it is just the best like entry point gateway to computing I've ever seen on YouTube. There is a Chinese translation, and I recommend to all of my programs, all of my friends. If they say, I want to get into the bottom of computing, how am I going to do that? And I'm gonna say, watch that series. I literally recommended that to my dad. He was an Apple II programmer and an XT programmer, then like PC programmer in general. But later he entered into the engineering sector and became kind of a civil engineer. But it's not civil engineer. He was like mechatronics engineer. Who does like stuff like lights, like and information boards for highways. Basically, the smart stuff of infrastructure. That's really cool. That is really cool. He prompted me into like technology, and I prompted him back to like his childhood when he was, I think, literally the first generation of programmers in China. That is really cool. My first computer was the TI-99 4A. I wasn't really computing back then. Did you play games on the TI-99? I think the TI-99 is... I'm sorry, but after I've studied all those computer architectures, I would say that I don't like the TI-99 4A just for its CPU. I mean, Texas Instrument, what are they thinking? I mean, its instruction set is just blows my mind. But I think on the other hand, the TI-99 4A is underrated. It is, I would not call it criminally underrated, but I think people just kind of think about TI-99 4A and kind of relate that to MSX computers, which is really weird, but they share the same graphics chips, and the games, they may look similar on the surface. But I've seen some TI-99, what's that called? TI-99 demos. And when I look at it, I go, I know quite a few MSX demos, and I think, this is not possible with a 3.58 MHz Z80. There must be some magic, some performance happening in that TMS 9900. Now on Atari 800 from 1979, Commodore 64. I got a Commodore 64, a VIC-20 that is broken, as you can see. Atari 600 XL that outputs a bunch of A's when you plug that in, thing in. And of course I had to use RF because I don't want to AV mod it, and even less like S-Video mod it. It is really original and in mint condition. It has like the US RF shield, and it was like soldered on. Nobody has ever gone into that computer before me, but I had to repair it. So I got into it, but I couldn't repair it. I've got an Atari 130 XL, which is in pretty bad shape, but that thing does boot up, not into BASIC, but it does boot up into a memory test. What happened to Benito? I don't know. At first he just updated his video like monthly, so people are used to like he not updating video for a while, and then he disappeared. I really would like to see another video on the 6502. He promised a lot. But I on the other hand, I never watched like the internet series, like the CRC and I think DNS. He talked about DNS in one episode. I kind of not interested in that, and by the time I watched like the 77.4 computer series, I'm done with that. I'm literally done with that. By that time I can design my own instruction set, and I look at it and think, wow, this is not as efficient as my design, so I just don't watch it. Around 9, so already obsolete. Yeah. So I think I'm the 1% of, again, I think I'm the 1% of retro computing fans that is teenager. I'm still teenager. I'm born in 2002, but really late 2002. I'm born, I think, I'm just going to Google really quick here. When was Sega Dreamcast? I think the most strict 1998. Like definition for retro computing is 1998 when Sega Dreamcast. But when does it end production? I'm going to go back really quick. I'm just going to Google Sega Dreamcast. End of production, lifetime 2001. I was born after retro computing. Even if you take like the most strict standard by you guys. So it's really weird, but I was first into Minecraft. I would say that. I was first into Minecraft. Then I was into Redstone. Then I was into Redstone CPU. I mean, when my friends are slaying Ender Dragon, I've never done that. Despite playing that game for literally 7 years, 8 years. I never finished I think it's called survival. We call it survival. Survival, creative, and spectator mode. I never finished survival anytime. Once. I've never done that once. But I've designed like a series of Redstone computers. And then one day I thought, hey, why don't I see how those old CPUs work? They are not so complicated, right? And I said, okay, how am I going to do that? I said, go old CPUs, and I said, oh, there's something called 6502. Oh, there's a series. How do you make a computer with 6502? And it goes into the details about it. Oh, I'm going to watch it. Oh, there's some random 8-bit guy out there who has a lot of contents about this processor. Oh, what is a Commodore 64? And at that point, I didn't know, but I was hooked. So this is how I got into retro computing. And before I got into like integrated circuit stuff, I did I did like Tesla coil. I did like electromagnetic guns, and I did that on purpose because when other people are making videos about coil guns, I never really made a coil gun in my life. I made a prototype. It was an absolute failure. What I was into was rail guns, but I haven't made anything that shoot more than 1 millimeter. Literally 1 millimeter. But I thought I'm going to make rail guns because I don't know how to say it. It's my favorite animation, alright? It's my favorite animation. Once making more or less official PCs called Olivetti. My family had an Olivetti keyboard, and I think we still have it, but the badge dropped, so I can no longer verify whether that is the keyboard. That Olivetti keyboard went missing, and then some random badgeless keyboard appeared. So Olivetti, I think Olivetti, its biggest move is, I think it acquired Sinclair, not Sinclair, Amstrad acquired Sinclair. I think it acquired Amstrad. Was a dog. When came on yard sale, a lot of game cards. Commodore 64 plus 4. What is that? I know the Commodore 64 and I know the plus 4. Taught me basic. Well, I bought the CSM for me, so he got 2 for teaching future classes. Interesting history of computing. The use of through-hole components in old machines allowed you to rapidly understand the techniques all modern systems are built on. Actually, I have a problem about that. I have a problem about it. I think that what is that philosophical boat that has been changed like entirely? Theseus boat. I'm trying to bring up this YouTube video about reviving like a dead Blastoise by Nick Robinson. They pronounced it, and it's really weird. I can never grab that pronunciation, but I think it's the PC. Nowadays you can no longer boot real mode DOS on a PC, like on my laptop, because the modern PCs use UEFI, and with like AMD 64, which takes, of course, x86 thinking into it, but it also takes the DEC Alpha instruction set, some features of that into it. I think it no longer like resembles like the old PC that people are familiar with, and today's computing is more about building on system, or building on operating system, rather than building on bare metal circuit. And it's again half the reason why I make this circuit board. I want this circuit board. I want this project to like bridge the gap between, yes, I started to understand how computers work with those retro computers, and possibly with the X16. To, oh, I understand how modern computers and mobile devices work. I mean, people will say that everything. I'll literally bring up this thing here, like stream. Everything is difficult to start. People argue that everything is difficult to start, and If you get into computing, you can easily migrate to 286 to 386 and then understand 486 and then understand like modern computing and understand x64 and stuff. But I think there is a gap between like understanding the C64 and understanding Windows NT and Linux. And I think this can bridge some part of it. I think if I'm like beating my own drum here, literally, like advertising my own product, but it's not actually advertising, it's just stating my dream. Yeah, Theseus boat, yes. So, think about it. Look, what part is left from the IBM 5150 to a modern PC? I will tell you, the 14.318 MHz crystal. I think that is still present on the motherboard as a surface mount component somewhere really small. Because some timing I think is still based on it. Maybe not, but probably yes. And you know what? The slot. Those slots, those mechanical form factor are inherited from the 5150. And a part of the ATX form factor is from the AT, so that they can reuse some of the mounting holes. And I've seen AT motherboards mounted into ATX cases, but not vice versa, because your motherboard will be like poking into the power adapter area. And that is all. BIOS, gone. You can buy computer with UEFI without CSM, without BIOS, legacy BIOS support. BIOS, gone. Real mode, you can argue that, but when you have UEFI, you boot into like 32-bit mode before you know it, before any custom program is loaded, I think. There's no real mode stuff that the bootstrapper needs to do. And you think about it. And the PC keeps taking things from everywhere. VGA. VGA is not a PC thing. It's a PS2 thing. It is from IBM PS2 series. PS2 keyboard and mouse that is still on my Z390 motherboard. I will double check. Yes, there is one. Yes, there is one. PS2, it can use for either keyboard or mouse. It is there. But it's from PS2. It's way like later than PC. DOS is gone. The Windows NT has shared more blood with IBM OS2 and maybe DAC VMS, virtual memory system, because they share the same like mastermind. I think the same person designed Windows NT and VMS. I have a list of things that PC just take from other architectures. EFI. Remember that UEFI was EFI, and it was not for x86. It was for Itanium. Itanium was like the next big thing, that it doesn't have any legacy x86 stuff other than like a compatible core. It has EFI, no BIOS, no magic numbers, no like weird assembly codes, no that shenanigans, I think that's called how that's called in English. Oh my god, and then AMD says we have AMD 64 and give me your UEFI. And we have AMD 64 with UEFI, but EFI was from Itanium. The PC is literally a ship of Thesis Pro plus Ultra, because it not only changes all of its planks, but it also borrows those planks from other ships. I mean, really. And there's another reason why DOS is dead. There was this NTVDM thing, which is a built-in virtual machine for DOS. You can think of it as some kind of built-in DOS box of XP and stuff. But it is dead in Windows 10 64-bit mode, and because Windows 11 doesn't have a 32-bit version. Surprise! Like, it is now, NTVDM is now officially dead. There's a not official NTVDM 64. It may run on the Windows 11, but if you count that, then DOSBox also count. But I think you can run DOSBox on other architecture than PC, so it's not really compatible. And if you think from a business perspective, basically Microsoft abandoned DOS entirely with the end of NTVDM. So DOS is no longer there. Cheers from Norway, yeah. Interrupts up to 30 is still mapped to IRQ7 because of the original IBM limitations. Really, I think there's an advanced programmable interrupt controller, because there is a need to route different interrupts to different cores for like multi-core CPUs. I don't know about that. In the Britain, still started a modern version called Trigger's Broom. The character series that has the same broom all his life, new handles, and has obviously. Yes, being able to dock directly at the lowest level, peel away all the complex level API, okay. Interrupt methods, yeah, maybe. Hello. Although it's evolved that allows some underlying API like look like those stuff is there. The writing was on the wall for IA65 soon as Microsoft AMD's AMD 64 like operating system, yeah. Good observation, has no much evolved as modern times. Have to feign. The only claim IA64 has to feign is tricking Novus computer. This is when they are downloading drivers. I think that's no longer a thing now. IA64 is, I wouldn't say that sadly, dead. IA64, it did promise much, but I think it is a technical gamble that Intel lost. Intel and Hewlett-Packard lost. That is it. At the time, VLIW, or EPIC as they call it, was really promising. So they bet on it and they failed. It is not like mismanagement or like someone acted like intentionally to introduce a bad system, like bad business, evil business stuff. They just gambled and they lost. And probably they know it. So they accepted it and adopted the AMD 64. And I think we should be thankful to Intel or for Intel, I don't know, about Intel's action, because if you have two different 64-bit x86, it will be a holy mess. It will be trickier than like tricking novice computer users when they are downloading drivers. I made Windows for AMD 64. I think there is a story that XP 64-bit was for Itanium, IA64 at first. Then there is like the AMD 64 thing. But as we are on to the topic of the 64-bit stuff, I think we should talk about my wish. If I can go back in time, if I have that time-traveling DeLorean, if I can just alter one thing in history, I will get into that DeLorean, drive it up to 85 or 88 miles per hour, go back into 1990 whatever, and prevent Digital Equipment Corporation. I'll check that. Digital Equipment. Is that? Yes, Digital Equipment Corporation from being bought by Compaq. One of my favorite instruction set architecture is the DEC Alpha. It is that kind of instruction that all of the like tech-savvy geeks love. It is the technology that failed not because it was too old or too low performance. It failed kind of because it was too advanced. I will just go from Wikipedia, go to Wikipedia here, and I search for the thing 1000 here. 3 or 4 times cycle time. Yeah. Return fast. Okay, it's not in the alpha wiki. They said that in 20 years' time, the computer CPU will be 1,000 times faster, 10 times core count, 10 times frequency, and 10 times instruction per cycle. And do you know how accurate that is? I cannot describe how accurate that is. Back then, the computer had 1 or 2 cores. And now, it is common to have 8 cores. We are moving to 12 cores, 16 cores, 20 cores, 24 cores. What is that? 10 times core count. Back then, computer was like 100 megahertz, 200 megahertz, 400 megahertz. Now we are clocking our CPU ranging from 3 gigahertz to 5 gigahertz and beyond. 10 times. And I don't have an exact number on this, but I presume, I think the average instruction per cycle 10 times. And we are now with all three, I think, with all three like measurements, we are all moving beyond 10 times. Why? Because we are moving beyond 20 years from DEC alpha. And it was like, oh my God. Like, their prophecy is still realizing itself after like the predicted 20 years. It is literally the unknown Moore's law when it comes to computer CPU. I'm calling that DEC law. It's like, yeah. And my own wish is that DEC alpha can survive, because the only reason I think why it died, the alpha EV67, I think it's the last version, is still marginally faster than the concurrent x64 CPU. And it was quite an achievement. And I think I've seen somewhere, I think it's on Quora, that it is using less advanced process than the AMD 64 CPUs. And the only reason why it died is that DEC was bought by Compaq, and Compaq was bought by Hewlett Packard. And Hewlett Packard, they want Itanium. And Itanium died. But it took alpha with it. I mean, I see a hard code form. Yes, the technical reason is that I think IA64 grouped 3 instructions together. So it executes explicitly in parallel. That's what is so epic. It's not because it runs Fortnite. It's not because it has some legendary features. It is because it is explicit parallel instruction computer. Basically, it groups 3 instructions that can run together. And Intel thought that compilers can be smart enough to always figure out 3 instructions that can be run together. That turned out not to be the case. A lot of times there was 1 instruction and 2 no-ops. So 3 instructions is more like 1 instruction. That slams the efficiency. And then there is the problem of when the CPU evolves beyond executing 3 programs, 3 instructions in parallel, this thing stopped to work. Either you change your instruction set, or you add more circuit to emulate a 3 instruction in parallel CPU, which is not good. This is also the reason why MIPS is just so promising. It almost got there as the optimal RISC instruction set. But it has branch delay slots, and when CPU moved beyond the length of memory delay slots, it needs like a longer memory delay slot and needs to emulate the shorter memory delay slot, and it adds complexity, and boom. And that memory delay slot is usually filled with no-ops. So, yeah. And we got RISC-V. You know, everybody, all hell RISC-V, right? Like everybody is saying that RISC-V is the future, but RISC-V is really the past. RISC-V is really MIPS without the branch delay slot. Everybody is saying that it's MIPS without the branch delay slot. So, yeah. And I have a few things to say about RISC-V, but it is way beyond retro computing. It is literally born after me. It is born when I'm 8. Intel was betting on i64 should have had a better plan to expand to 64 drive. What is 64 drive? So you have a backup plan. Question: did China have any user-run computer network based on modem before the internet bulletin board system in other countries? Yes. Yes. I've seen a few articles about early bulletin board systems, but they were for mostly universities. There is I think, if you don't know Tsinghua University, or in English like Tsinghua University, we call it Tsinghua University. It has 水木社区, which translates to let me see, water and wood community, which is really weird, but it is a very beautiful name. The problem is few people had computers back then. We had no home computers, virtually no computers, other than that Jackie Chan computer and an Apple II clone, which I may get into later. But they are not interneted or not connected in any way. The great computerization of Chinese people came in the early 2000s. According to Wikipedia, Intel bought the intellectual property of CPU back in 2000. That's why another destination of my DeLorean is Intel headquarters in like 2000. And I will shout to them, no, I'm from the future. No Itanium, no IA64. Make Alpha the IA64. Because back then, x86 is a 32-bit only system. And Alpha is a 64-bit only system. I mean, just think about it. They are complements of each other. They are just so good together. And then Alpha was kicked. And some random AMD 64 thing get in. I think I'm bad about English phrases. I think the saving grace is called saving grace. It's like the only thing that saves the story is that AMD bought or cooperated with the Alpha team when they made the AMD 64. And there are some things that the AMD 64 actually resembles a RISC. For example, it literally doubles the general purpose register of the x86 from 8 to 16, which is a RISC feature. When you talk about RISC architecture, we'll talk about a lot of general purpose registers. And I think in 64-bit mode, there's no access to AH, BH, CH, and DH registers. All registers are accessed like bottom 8 bits, bottom 16 bits, bottom 32 bits, and 64 bits. That is like orthogonality. I think, yeah, I'm just terrible at English. It's very orthogonal. So yeah, kind of like if you call AMD 64 like the spiritual like child of Alpha, I'm going to say yeah, but imagine all our computers are alpha. Imagine we run CPUs with 20-year future proof built into its instruction set. CPU equals autocorrect. I typed 64-bit. Oh my god. CPU drive is a retroactive product from Michelle H. Jackie Chan computer is basically Famicom. Nope. That is not true. I don't think it's true because this is Family Basic. It's broken. Amazing. I thought I see in Dragon Coco and I think if you talk about orthogonality, 6809, 6800, not 6800, 68,000 is not the way to go. When you talk about no orthogonality, x86 is the way to go, I think, because it has all addressing modes that doesn't use like common register. But there's a point in using that. But 68,000 is very orthogonal. But when you talk about orthogonal instruction set architecture, look, I think, no further than the DAC PDP-11 and the VAX-11. I looked at those architecture and I thought, come on, why do people want to use these instructions with these like addressing modes? Come on, DAC. Why don't you just save a few instructions? And DAC was like, no, our instructions should be orthogonal. Now, back to the Family Basic thing. I've got this. I never booted it up, but I know what Family Basic looks like. Oh my god, wait a second. Sorry, I didn't know that we would get there. I've got the Famicom keyboard with it. Here is the SU board. This is the starting point of everything. This and this, you can see it is the Famicom Family Basic idea, but it is entirely different concept. And this has a very misleading name. It's called it's the SU board 286 because computers were referred to as 286, 386, 486 back then in China, just by their CPU. And this is called the 286. Of course, it's a 6502. It's not a 286. But then there is the 486. And it is a keyboard computer, which Nintendo never made. No companies outside China that I know of made keyboard form factor Famiclones. But the 286, 486, they use this type of like cartridge, it's called TV game cartridge. It has a different type of basic than Family Basic because the Family Basic is kind of fancy. It has this like feather pen thing, like that text editor, and it has a like sprite editor. This doesn't have it. there is possibility that this thing has something similar or even copied some code from the Family Basic, but I wouldn't say that this is just a clone. Also, it does not circumvent the console ban. The console ban started at 2000, and those Jackie Chan computers were just sold out at that point. It really runs Famicom cards. I don't think even have region lock. You can run some NTSC games on it, but I mean, if it has something to do with timing, nope. How easy it is to get bulk of used electronics in China? I'm going to show you. Here's this thing called Taobao. Like, YouTubers call it Taobao. It's Taobao. I'm going to search 6502. And not a lot of stuff here. We've got masks. Come on. Those really, really crazy looking masks. Like, they're for some post-apocalypse nuclear wasteland land. But if I search for 6502 Xinpian, which is 6502 chip, we've got 6502. And it's just like that. There are fake chips, but most of them are good chips. And you can complain about fake chips, and they will actually, I think, downvote the shop in the algorithm. So those sellers are not incentivized to sell a lot of fake chips. The only thing that I cannot get a real chip is the Hitachi 6309, which is the holy grail for 8-bit microprocessors. The best 8-bit microprocessors there is, like, rated by many people. I cannot get it. Problem there. I cannot get it. I got 3 from different sellers, fake. I complained to them, they sent me another one, fake. No. I wanted to make computer with the 6309 because it's like the best 8-bit computer, 8-bit microprocessor there is, but no, I cannot get one. And then I launched a project to make my own best 8-bit computer. But I learned that there is one guy on YouTube that made it. It's a pipeline design, and it is genius. It is really genius. You look at the first episode of the Dragonfly series. I actually mentioned him. They have a clone PPU. It's produced by UMC, and Nintendo filed lawsuit against UMC. And UMC changed the design a little bit. It's like change that homework a little bit so that it doesn't look like it. And they made the Microsoft bimbos of the Nintendo chipset. And I think allegedly Nintendo failed further lawsuits against UMC. So it's kind of legal clone. It's kind of like the compact portable of the Nintendo side. Plus, because Nintendo does not have an official business in China back then, I don't think they have whether it's called legal standing, because they will have a hard time proving that their business is being hurt by these like clone machines. I have a Bung BC Junior Famicom, and it was a Famicom. Why is a PC Junior a Famicom? The OSD from a Bung V64 is also a secret Famicom. If you're talking about Famicoms, they are probably from China. That's what I can say. I would say that Chinese people basically hack the Famicom so much that Nintendo does not even recognize it. You have Famicoms with printer ports, DB25 Centronics printer ports. You have Famicoms that can load games from disks, not like Famicom disk system disks from 720K or 1.44 megabyte, 3.5-inch PC form factor floppy disks. You have Famiclones running Windows 98 that's just designed to look like a Windows 98, but it's still, oh my god, how did they do it? Yeah, I want to get one of those. They're sold for really cheap in China. The problem is a lot of them are broken. I bought one broken. No way whatsoever to fix them because they have. I'll show this assembled one. This is a Famicom motherboard. This, I haven't cut it. I haven't done anything to it. This, CPU, PPU, RAM, SRAM, everything into it. How do you service that? I mean, the PC Junior was a Famicom too? What is that? Looking for the MXX3 chip cartridge, off topic. Yeah, off topic. We're off topic. Yeah. Yeah, I think we should get back to topic. We are like one hour into it, and then, but that's not an. Get back to topic. I just have so many things to talk about. The Zilog Z80. Like, it has more dislikes than a lot of my videos have likes. And it has more comments than many of my videos have views. A retired IBM engineer. Why ROP 8085 system? Is that the Data Star? Like the predecessor to PC? And I think the ISA slot is from the Data Star. Together and program that use ASM recruitment programming after 20 minutes erase process using UV light. Most of them bare metal space. You have bright career ahead of you, my friend. RNA signal is used a single Z80 in shielded casing. Impressive. You can absolutely do print. Yes, this is. I mean, I want those long comments. This is my, let's say. I know a lot of tech videos, like really big channels, their top 10, top 20 comments are like, you make really great videos, thank you for your effort. And because those comments got upvoted a lot, I don't upvote those comments. I don't post those comments because I know I should pay respect to those YouTubers, and I do want to do that. But what I really want to see is that hugely long comment that go into the great detail. That's, oh my god. And there's one comment. I'm going to YouTube Studio. I'm going to show this live. 20,000 hours of watch time. Oh my goodness. This video single-handedly like beaten a lot of comments that a lot of like the stats that all of my other videos combined. I'm trying to replies. Yeah, I think there's one thing about the AMI. Yes, this is it. I'm sorry for not looking at this section. Make a probably the PC engineer Mega Drive. I still like that family computers. Even has a computer in saying it wasn't much of a stretch. The user 80 system, one will use it more. Anyway, that is a waste. I mean, I want to design a computer that made actual sense, engineering sense, and even kind of business sense, even back in the day. I mean, why? It's just a proof of concept. It's just proof what could have been possible. But two Z80s with only one like working, not really great for me. I do know that the some workstations use double 68,000 because the 68,000 cannot handle page faults by itself. That's the problem. But it's so well as Unix workstation. So dual processors with only one working without like double the processing power, it could work, but I didn't want to make it. But this system potentially can support symmetrical processors, basically multiple processors working simultaneously with its own cache RAM and the shared main RAM space. It is possible, and I tried to make like a quad-core 24 MHz overclocked Z84C020 CPU, and I would consider that like the top of like real chip design. But the thing is here, I want to explicitly address this thing. It is a really good comment. My counter argument to it is that the only thing that I want to do is that I want to not allow your program to mess up with other programs. It's the only thing that I want to do. I don't want to make like all programs run perfectly like in a modern emulator, because I'm not emulating that system with 1,000 times more powerful CPU, like 1,000,000 times more powerful CPU. I'm just running a virtual machine. And if you want to start your program, if you want to just kill your program, you throw your program into an infinite loop, and I cannot do anything with it. And it's just like, yeah, something caused. The program is stuck because of the program's own behavior. It's like if you point your SP to something insane, like you point that to your code area, you point that to your data, and the system accidentally pushed 2 bytes into the stack. Well, that is just life. But there's always a but. Then I thought about it. Then I realized it is actually a legitimate problem, because I'm claiming a virtual environment. I'm claiming a virtual machine. And that is, at the very least, if a program does not crash in a real machine, it should not crash in a virtual machine. That is a problem. and it will actually leave 2 bytes in the user stack, if you want to call it. That is actually the PC value when the interrupt happened. The user program can potentially just like keep checking the stack, the area right under the stack pointer to figure out, I'm running in a virtual machine, which breaks the definition of a virtual machine, which is it can be made so that it's basically like Matrix. It is basically like so that those programs don't realize they live in a virtual world. And the NMI loophole is failing that. It's failing that definition. It is now allowing like a certain Neo to escape the Matrix world. But you have to be really, really hacking. Like, I know it's a trick to use the stack to quickly fill out RAM. You have to be doing that with your critical data area for that to crash your program. Bang Maple for PC Engineer Geo. The PC Junior. Wait a second. Did they make the PC Junior form factor Famicom? That would be that would be excessive. I mean, it would be like literally this big thing sitting in front of you with like fake floppy disks and like fake slots in the back and everything, and it's just a Famicom. PC Junior did have cartridges, but if it just used to put Famicom cartridges in, it would be hilarious. It would be hilarious. Push product down with platitudes. For fast screen updates, very common in ZAD and other games. Yeah. To move data, next implements a cheat, making it stackless to allow whole team programs. That's what I want to do. If you look at the ZAD datasheet, you will see that it has a certain NMI response timing. When it starts to respond to NMI, the bus is in a very specific pattern, and I think it's the same for interrupts. I don't think it's for the NMI. I'm going to... No, it's too much personal stuff. I was saying that I'm just going to search for that. The 8400 datasheet. Yeah. Google is pretty much trained like for me. Come on. I mean, Google knows what I want to search. And this is really convenient, and I would go as far as to say that I would accept losing a little bit of privacy to get this type of experience. Is good, as long as you don't like sell my data to scammers. Really, it really feels good. This is instruction optical fetch, and I think the interrupt acknowledge is the CPU trying to fetch an instruction from an I/O device. It is basically CPU tries to fetch an instruction from an I/O device. Look, int here got M1 cycle, and IORQ is basically CPU tries to get an instruction from an I/O device. But this is non-maskable interrupt. Oh, it's actually different. But basically, what I can do is that when the CPU acknowledges the NMI, it enters a certain cycle. And I can use two registers, like two 74LS373 or 374 or 573 or 574. One of those chips are two of one kind of those chips to intercept the stack, and the CPU can read it from other place and just no, it's not going into RAM. And I prohibit memory writes during an NMI acknowledgement. Like your glasses, brother. Yeah, I chose these glasses specifically to look professional. Like, yeah. There is one video that I accidentally forgot to put those glasses on. I think it's like the 286 repair. And when I watched it, I was like, oh, I looked really awful without these pair of glasses. So I can actually do it, but it will add a lot of complexity in circuit, because I'm actually like tracing the step of the Z80 cycle by cycle, and it takes a lot of circuit, and I don't want to do it. But I will say that in a normally behaving program, let's imagine that this is like the memory map. I'm actually going to double check the screen so that this is seen a little bit higher. A program, the bottom is the interrupt vectors. It is basically the system call. And then there's the program, and there is specifically a non-writable page. There must be a non-writable page. You can make your like program code non-writable and put them above your data area, so that it's like 0 page with those vectors, data area, and then program code that is non-writable, and then the stack always originates from the top of memory. There's a non-writable page there, because if there is an infinite recursion or some kind of stack overflow. Have you used Zhaoxin CPU or any China homegrown CPU? I always want to buy one, but I don't have one currently. Zhaoxin CPU is interesting. A Cyrix, but not Cyrix. It uses Cyrix's license, I think, but it's a WinChip. It's one of those WinChip CPUs. So, but it inherited a lot of Cyrix thinking. For example, it has very weak floating point. But I know Cyrix 6X86 not weak in floating point. It just is not optimized for Quake. I know you might be shouting there, trying to type in the comment section. I know. But I mean, it's not good at games. Okay for business software. Everything feels like a Cyrix to me. Yeah. So that basically prevents a stack overflow from happening. And that basically means you are not hacking around with this computer. You are not using the stack for non-stack purposes, which makes this computer kind of boring. But again, this computer is like the computer that tries to get into the mindset of programming with an OS. It's trying to get into the mindset of programming with an OS. You can program in assembly, but you are doing high-level programming. I mean, people saying that assembly is low-level programming and C and Java stuff are high-level programming, and I think you can do high-level programming with assembly, Basically, you do assembly, but you call system APIs, and you don't mess up with your stack. You don't hack around and like call functions in a non-standard way. You don't use jump instructions, like to jump around everywhere. You don't do self-modified code. That is assembly, but it's high-level programming. But if you program in C or Rust and you use go to everywhere and you like pointer equals memory address, you do that kind of stuff, it's low-level programming, but it's a high-level language. Quick on IBM P150. Was P150 is like Pentium Radeon 150. They use a lot of vectors as abstract. Then we become very high level. Yeah. So circuit the console bench channel. I'm going back to, because I never read through this on the keyboard tape drive for Family Basic. Yeah, I've showed that thing. I don't have the tape drive. Oh my god. Famicom keyboard. Review yourself. Here you are. This is my Famicom keyboard. Because I don't have the cartridge working, I cannot show it, and it doesn't work with this cartridge. I don't think it does. It either doesn't work with this cartridge or it's broken. What I can say is that the keyboard layout reconnection success. I think I'm back. Connection is back. Yeah. And if you type on this keyboard, I think you can hear it. I put it closer to my microphone. The Super keyboard actually is clicky, and the Famicom one is linear, and I think it's called a clicky keyboard when you have that click feeling. And there are just a lot of stuff that this Super keyboard is bad. It has an inverse T, like cursor. I personally love inverse T cursors, and I think it's the best cursor type out there. It has this really big enter key, which is non-modern, but if you move this key to here and extend like the backspace, it is a modern keyboard layout. So I would go as far as to say that this thing designs to be like a PC, and it kind of did the job. And it kind of made a better, at least in terms of keyboard, than the Famicom. Welcome back. Cherry keys. I don't think it's actually cherry, but for whatever reason, the premium level of Chinese home computers have really good keys. I don't know why. And they are, I don't think that they are cherry, but they are really good. So, get back to the comments. The Zilog my YouTube like habit by showing these recommendations algorithms is really powerful. I've actually watched through this video multiple times, so it shows like halfway there. It's like I don't know how many times. Bring back memories, cool things to do with Z80 and 8080 processors. I would say something. I like the 8080 more than I like the Z80. I don't have a bleeper, so I wouldn't say like 30 words. But the thing is that the thing with 8080 and Z80 is like Intel made a really great processor and Zilog bleeped it up. It's like, yeah, I shouldn't use that those kind of comments, but I think it is how foreigners like express things. Like, yeah, it's like the 8080 is really a beautiful instruction set. It does have a beautiful instruction set. It is missing a lot of important things. Index addressing modes for starters. It definitely needs an index addressing mode. It accomplishes index addressing modes using the, I think, add and subtract instruction with the HL like register pair, so that it can do index addressing without doing index addressing. But if I want to program, I would choose a Z80, because as much as Zilog made the instruction set a mess, look at those prefixes: ED, E9, FD, everywhere. They just like try to squeeze in a bunch of instructions into just that few spaces of the unused instructions of the 8080. It's like, yeah, I know, like Mr. Fagan wanted to make a 8088 like processor. It does a lot of things. There is a table on Wikipedia comparing the Z80's addressing modes, the Z80 instruction to the 8088. I think it's down here. It's like Z80 really did a very 8088 instruction set, but in the meantime, he wants to make it compatible with the 8080, and this is sacrifice that he has to make, but it really trashes the instruction set. That's only my opinion. But again, if I want to program, if I want to make a computer, I would probably stay away from the 8080 because it needs separate clock generator. It needs a lot of voltages. It needs like a lot of stuff that is just no. And it's missing a lot of like really good features that the program can really make use of. But it's just more beautiful. Microphone acts weird from time to time. Like hulu 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 hulu, right? Heathkit. I saw that machine somewhere. Tritron. Learn always preferred. Seems natural when write it. I mean, I'm a 6502 guy. Actually, I'm a 6502 guy. My first retro computer is an Apple II clone. It's an Apple IIe clone called the China Education Computer. That is bought specifically because I want to learn 6502 assembly language. after I watched the Band Eater video. And then I got into the retro computing. So I would say that the one person just left. So I think it's like a Z80 lover, a Z80 fan just left. So I think the 6502 really feels natural for me personally, but yeah, when I got into the Z80, there was a video just for myself that I first programmed on the Z80, and I was like, oh, why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? Oh my God, what are you thinking, Zilog? What are you thinking, Mr. Faggy? Or what were you thinking, Mr. Faggy? I do less of that now, and I kind of get used to it, but I still do it from time to time. Good engineer, good professionally. Very careful, Z80. It's not fast. It's Swarm routine code. Must be very big. Hello, multi Z80 control system. Designed in the 80s. Extend multi CPU, share page RAM for batching system, mixers and like for animal feed, concrete, etc. Conveyor sentences encoder to get the destination. A spring sorter for keyboard spring manufacturer and several. That was a long time ago. Still memory, huh? Anxiety by watching a video. The moral system X100. I'm saying X100, which is 100 in Chinese, but as full protector mode and an MMU. Why are S100 people crazy? I know why my. Can we port System V Unix to Z80? Wait. I want to ask a question. Is System V the official, like the official version of the Z80? And it goes. Links way forward. If it's this sound, that is my clothes. That's my clothing. I should probably just hold my microphone like this. Really lots of 6502, just a lot of micros make it look like Z80 Go. I think that's what Cheeky Akuma did. He was pretty much an Amstrad guy. He started with Amstrad, but he now do with all kinds of assembly. It's like he's joking himself, like he do a lot of assembly. There are great courses, but of course he used a lot of macros and stuff to make it Z80 like. For which codes can survive in the public domain. The problem is probably the memory size, I think. If it works in 64K with Z80, it's going to work. Otherwise, currently it depends on the Monica. For those of you who don't know, this computer's firmware or BIOS, or what Apple II users call the monitor program, and the Commodore 64 users or general Commodore system calls the kernel with that A. program, and what IBM calls the BIOS, and what CPM people calls the BIOS. I call it Monica. It goes with the trend of Atari computer of naming their like technical stuff with girls' names. Like the Sally chip, like, but not the Antic and GTIA. And then it goes with the Amiga chipset, like Agnes, Pola. Oh my god. Atari 7800's got Maria chip graphics, Maria graphics chip. Pokey's not one. Agnes, Pola's like the sound. And what is graphics? Agnes is the bus controller. What is graphics, guys? A Monica. Is it version for physics? Zulan modem not being whole. Wait a second. From Wales review. May. How old are you? Wait. I'm not going Baidu. It's not the place to go when you want to search Amiga stuff. OCS. Original chipset. Blitter, copper. What are the chips called? Denise, yeah, Denise chip. So it is backrow named to be monitor kernel application, which reflects my 6502 Apple II background. Originally, this was just a monitor that can be evoked at any time, because I made the keyboard interrupt an NMI. And the kernel reflects to it. It does like multitasking. It allows like multiple processes to talk to each other and do stuff. It is a basic system kernel, and the intention is that because it's a system kernel, you can load different OS on it, but they are all like different distributions of Linux. You can make it look different. You can have different desktop environment, or you can have no desktop environment and use command line at all. Just use command line. But if a program is designed for the Monica, it should work with any distribution that you decide to use. And A is just application. It's monitor kernel application because it's just a program. At me, System V is not being able to fit in 64K. That's kernel. That's why Tim suggests physics. Do you know Tom Jones? But that was cool too. No, I'm talking to him. Well, I'm from China. This is the city I'm born. I'm southern China. I am like just barely teenager. I joke around that I'm 90 years old. Yeah, I'm born in 2002, late 2002. I'm not had my birthday this year, so you can just guess. I'm totally new to this stuff. I don't know who made what and that stuff. So excuse me, the who's who. No, sorry, I do not. Unlike many Welsh people, I can sing, so I don't move in the same circles. The System V unit was for 30 PDP. PDP 11 is 16-bit. It's not 32-bit, but it has like the most famous version that you see online is probably PDP 11/70. It can address 22-bit of physical RAM. It has a very primitive memory management system, but I don't think it has any kind of protection into it. So it can address 4 megabytes of RAM. So the problem here is that I think that those systems are in C. So the current limit for how much RAM a program can have is actually limited to the Monica. The maximum amount of active RAM is limited by the Z80 itself, is 64K. But like the program as the design is as the current design, the program can call the Monica and say, hey, help me preserve this page, 256 byte page, but I want it to be swapped out of my current address space. I don't need it right now. It's kind of like I want to bank it out. And that, I want to bank it out. And the ultimate limit for the program is that when the for the processor's memory space is that when you do this, Monica will give you a number. Will give the program a number. Will say, "Hey, Monica, I'm trying to preserve this page, this 256 byte of RAM," and Monica will say, "Okay, you got this number. It's like number 100. It's like number 42, and basically when the program wants to retrieve that RAM and say, Monica, help me to swap back page 42 into like some address. So I was not facing the camera. So the limit is like this. How many pages can you ask Monica to save? Currently, it is 64K because Monica will give you a 16-bit reference number. That's the current design. So a program can at most have 64K of 256 byte pages. That makes a program can have 16 megabytes of memory, which goes way beyond of the 4 megabyte physical memory limit of the current system. But as I said before, you can actually make a more advanced system like with an FPGA and stuff and give it like 100 megabyte of SD RAM and use DDR SD RAM. You go DDR2, DDR3 with FPGA and be still compatible softwarely. And you can also use virtual memory, like Monica says, oh, the program, like if the Monica says, oh, this program have not requested this page for a long time, and I'm just going to swap that into disk space, and it's fine. It will work. No problem, Sakuda. New here, and it's drawing a wide range of people. Oh, I mean, Willow. My user pretty. The 5 different Z80 physics. The image is not important. If I need to run images, I need to Although I probably can do it in Monica, emulate the system that those like physics run on. It's not uh, it's not simple, and Unix is already really, really, really heavy and really demanding. Uh, so the problem is if you add another layer of emulation, the performance will be horrible on everything other than like the ultimate FPGA design. That's the problem. But the problem is that 16 megabyte address range is that it will be a heck of a job, like a HEC of a job, to make a C compiler that actually work with that much RAM and see it as a continuous memory space. I don't even know whether that's possible. So yeah, this is the kind of thing that, going back to this one, this is the kind of thing that, yeah, I don't want to see it. The worst case scenario I prepared, because I haven't looked at these comments. I haven't looked at these comments at all. Like I've looked at the first few comments, but I haven't looked at these comments. The worst case scenario is that there's a highly voted comment that there's a fundamental bug in your system that you haven't discovered in a long time, and your project is dead. I think that would be devastating for me actually. But I have pretty high confidence that it won't happen, or I will have a way to work around that. And the second worst case scenario is that you did it, but somebody did it before you. I kind of expected it because it happens with everything that I did. Basically, either it's proved too stupid, it's proved impossible, or somebody has done it. I think bittersweet is just the word to describe my feeling. In one way, it proves my stuff does work, and I can genuinely say that I did not look at any reference design. I come up with this thing my own, and those systems, they are designed by professional engineers, they are designed by scientists. So I can with my whole heart say that I'm as clever as one of those great engineers from the past, and it feels good. But the fact that, oh, you didn't invent it, somebody else invented it, really feels bad. For example, when I was in junior high school, I did something really weird. I took a parabola and like try to figure out like what is the function of a tangent to it, and you can see where it's going. I finally like draw a lot of stuff pretty accurately. I did a lot of calculations. I did not know like extremes. I think when you approach something like infinitely close but not there. I don't know whether that's it's called extremes 极限 in Chinese, but I don't know what's that in English. And I kind of like did it, and I found it. Oh my goodness, there's a relationship between like the parabola itself and uh, and its tangents, and I felt like I discovered America. I felt like I was like the mathematical equivalent of discovering the new continent. And I presented this thing to my math teacher, and he basically said, wow, you know what? Somebody did it 100, 200 years ago, and that guy is named Isaac Newton. I know there's a German mathematician that did the same thing at almost the same time. I cannot pronounce his name. I know the person, but the reason I don't mention him is that I cannot pronounce his name in English. And my math teacher went on to say that, oh, it's called calculus. It's something that you will study in college. Well, I actually studied that in A level, but I took further math, but I was like, oh, come on. I just made like the biggest math discovery in my life, and you say, oh, it has been given a name, and it's discovered like hundreds of years ago, and I got But again, I was like, wait a second, does that mean I'm as smart as Newton? It is just that feeling. Correcting the address. Okay, Hannah. What I want to do actually is to make like a Unix compatible layer for Monica. Because there are not a lot of Unix programs written for the Z80. So I can adopt the Unix philosophy where I'm writing the Monica. So that's the way I want to go. How does it, which I own the maps 128K? Adrian's Digital Basement made a great video about that. Persistence is everything. I'll come up with an original idea. A front panel Z80 machine that uses a serial board deduct. That reminds me of something. That reminds me of a crazy 6502 computer that I made. And I made it to show off, absolutely flex the versatility of the 6502. What I basically did is I wrote a 4-byte program. Store it in ROM, no RAM, use the V input. There's a certain input on the 6502 that is not used in almost all applications that will set the V bit of the 6502. And I use that to control an LED. And the output bit is an address line. Basically, when the V bit is set, my processor will branch to another address. And it infinitely loops around that address so that that certain address line will always be high. And when the V bit is set, it jumps back. And that address line will be low. 4 bytes, no other circuit, nothing, a button connected to the set V pin of the 6502. and an LED connected to one of the address pins. And when I did it, I feel like, oh my god, what had I done? For a 16-page, Helvetic Federation TR-1000, other 64 models as RAM disk, as a RAM disk. Credit to Spaceport, yeah. Adrian's distro basement tank. He made a whole series trying to repair a like TRS like 80 Model 4P. So yeah, that covers a lot of stuff about that architecture. To do these tricks, get a vector board and stuff. Board designs, very basic. Wow, most up. Historic 6809s. Kind of easy to do protected mode because that has a user stack and the system stack. The problem is that the system stack is not protected. The user program can modify the system stack. So the line I'm drawing here is that I am generally not relying on good behavior of my program. I'm relying on like the program not doing crazy stuff like with the stack, but I'm not relying on the program to be good behaving so that my system is normal. You can write a malicious program for this computer. And actually, if I made this computer, like mass produce it, I'm going to launch a competition for someone to try to break Monica. If someone can do it, of course I'm going to patch it, and hopefully I can patch it. Modern history authority. Great work. Someone got an implemented system. I have an implementation of the system. Virtualizing different Z80 would have seemed impossible to my younger self. Peripherals on some of these all had their own weirdness. How screen memory was organized. Whether there are sprites. No, actually. Because there is the TMS9918. That's all. I'm not claiming to emulate all of the Z80 system, but they all happens to use the same graphics chip. And easy to follow, even though it's been years since I last touched the Z80. Awesome video made. Brings back memory for sure. My 88, 68, 60, 30, 40, I enjoy 88 more. Yes, I think the 88 is like really like good when you want to program assembly. It is really like friendly to assembly programmers. It has everything you want to use at your reach. Similar technique to display and input the data from direct entry switches. Gotta go, sorry, for future updates. Yeah, bye-bye. I'm just going to say a lot of things, replying to random comments, just for the record. Sorry, I missed you. There's a run Java emulator. Deck Rainbow. Yeah, I know that. For the required mode to support, yes, I know. And in Magic TM. Yes, behaving could do bad things. Hint, allow the debugger to know the debugger to know watch itself on 6502 because the lack of registers. Not really. Developer remember, yes, I know. It's called interrupt that handles more strategy. But the thing is, if you have to load different programs into different sections of the code, the Z80 and 6502 programs are really terrible at being position independent or address independent. Generally, you write those code to be loaded into a specific address. And that is not good when you want to do multitasking, because, well, if you can only run Word with Chrome but not Word with, let's say, Microsoft Excel, Office Excel, I won't call that multitasking. I won't call that multitasking. Multitasking is like any program running with any program. Task on stack, restore context on that. Yes, I know. Reserve process do not more than protect mode, but have to do with for mechanism. So it's more about paging. It's more about loading multiple programs into the same to protect the AD memory ranges. Come on, Xilinx, really? To get to my dad to watch this video with me. He says, "This is ingenious." I subbed. Great video. The camera zooming out. The camera zooming in and out of his CRT monitor. That was literally like after I watched those footage I took, and I thought that makes a good transition. And in the big update series, I did that again. I put the camera against like the black cloth, and I put the motherboard against the camera to make the transitions. It's an interesting way. Favorite 6502 back then, Z80 also highly adopted. I can't wait but to announce this. This design, the Z80 and the hack, the Hanker Education computer, that name is pretty solid now. SV328 should be SVI 328. The hack is now running against the Commander X16. I still need a graphics solution that can go up against the Vera. But I'm positioning this computer against Commander X16 because what kind of retro computing, what kind of nostalgia it is without a friendly competition between a 6502 computer and a Z80 computer. Respect for the... Yes, I really want to get into that story because I absolutely saw that somewhere. Make chips more versatile in the future. Actually, when starting Intel's 4004, the first CPU flagging ever developed, also found 2 hidden instructions which didn't show up in the first edition of the MCS4 handbook. Original design for basic, yes, I know. Only one, yes, PROM, RAM, shift register, and expansion, and CPU. No expansion chips at the time. CPUs cannot modify program ROMs since they were mass programs. So the copyright to Intel expanded MCS4 family like the 4008 and 9? 4289, what are those chips? 4265 and many others. There's a standard memory standard memory interface. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing I'm thinking about. I think 4004 is not a really CPU because you cannot interface it with real RAM. It's more like a microcontroller, but it's not a single chip microcontroller. It's like a multi-chip microcontroller, which is nothing. But if you can do like standard memory interface, it is a CPU. Conventional EEPROMs to store programs. Uncover 2 more instructions: WPM, RPM. Read and write program memory. Cool. So, does that mean that the MSCS4 is essentially a Harvard architecture? But if you can read and write from program memory, can you say that's a Harvard architecture anymore? chips and calculator application, these sections were not as necessary at all. It's very unlikely Intel could use these instructions during development and debugging of basic home computers. My only SDs were reserved for future, and Fagging had already got a roadmap to make a very versatile general purpose CPU ecology even before development of contract with BZCom. I don't think that is true. I think Fagging picked up Intel's worst nightmare, the Z80 history documentary. It mentioned that Mr. Fagging picked up the 4004 project midway. He did not start that project. Forcing personality was design dialogue and design of the Z8 with an undocumented instructions. My assumptions, but those two instructions are new knowledge. I didn't know that. IO driver transistors protection, sir. Yes. Yes, I'm actually going to. I should add a line explaining this, but I left that out. Replying to my comment section. I love these long comments. Excellent, thank you. Walked on my memory lane. 40 years ago, 1980, 30-year computer science project. Adding a clock signal to NMI CPU in soccer computer allow more than a simple model Z80 assembly. Of course, not exploring and pursuing protected mode. I've done so well here. Super impressed. Oh my god. See you then, my friend. Apology 6502. The silver being released never got the traction is. Thank you, Andy. I found undocumented instruction back in the 80s. A core Z80 assembler for A-level computer science project Z80 disassembler. Oh, the undocumented instruction on the CBM. No user interface though. There was plenty of a team in A-level. Tinker with hardware, zapping the recipe. Oh my goodness. But there's one thing that doesn't make sense in this story. The ZX81 does not run like CPM. The computer was the bubble sorting Visual C++. Nowadays, I took A-level computer science. I use Python. No! No! And a pseudo assembly programming. And it's like, there's not even a complete instruction set mentioned in that book. It's not even mentioned in that book. There's no instruction set. Come on. But I know that is very close to the 6502 with A register and LDA and stuff. The syntax is pretty close to the 6502 also. My sound is breaking. I'm not doing a live in short time. GCS, BBC Basic. Even now, in 2022, I would love to bring back BBC Micro and BBC Basic for computer science. Really, I brought my China education computer to my to my computer science class once, and my classmates loved it, absolutely loved it. But nowadays, I think like the spiritual successor for the BBC Micro is the Raspberry Pi, and I think really GCSE, IGCSE, A level, adopt the Raspberry Pi. Use those Raspberry Pis. Osborne hardware. You find it interesting. The has to do memory banking. Yes, yes. Memory map IO. Why? I mean, why? Here's another about combined assembly language, super fast on that, but mighty. 4 megahertz was like the fastest Z80 you can commonly get with IR detectors. The other did go overboard with bringing seemingly obscure internal signals out to pings. Heyday of Unix and multitasking. Maybe the plan to program for that companion IC. No, I don't think so. I think they plan a very industrial embedded focused a chipset. Bing utils in Debian for the Z80, really? Sorry, is it Monica? Linkstone. TRMS, wait, I'm sorry, I was just reading those comments. To see a Monica. It is KA, not KAH. It is monitor monitor kernel application. And I chose that name because I use it as a task like the Windows Task Manager. And the thing you do with Windows Task Manager is you queue tasks. So module groups at Computer History Museum. So there are 2 computer history museums. I know one is in the US, and there's another one which is actually I think now called the Center for Computing History. It is in Cambridge, UK. 30 minutes walk from my college. So yeah, I visit that place a ton. I got a membership, but that probably expired by now. Monica, monitor kernel application, yes. Wrong with resistors. Yes, yes. The some interesting blinking lights. Yeah, I virtually did that with 6502. And I did something more advanced. Remember that torchlight thing? It was basically a T flip-flop, but doing that with 6502 and 4 bytes of program, I don't think anyone else have ever thought of that idea, but I'm probably wrong. 85% of you said. Okay. This one's long comment. The 6-level based, and yes, such powerful example problem that this decision bringing out the all I/O lines to cars were ingenious. No, I mean Nintendo. I will make a correction. If I had that DeLorean, I would also go back to 1983 and tell Nintendo to bring all the EXE lines of the PPU to the slot. Please bring those lines to the slot. Add another PPU on the cartridge and you have a 16-bit rival system. Come on, Nintendo, you already did like sound expansion through the cartridge. Why can't you do graphics extension through the cartridge? I mean, that is that. Fill much RAM by filling pages by memory backward. You can extended RAM very effective. NES mappers or Famicom mappers are much more than this. Like I think Konami mappers have like sound like MMC5 can extend the graphics capabilities by a lot. But it's not as much as RAM as you want, but for an 8-bit system, probably. Few titles, this is huge program. Yeah, I've got a like modern implementation using a microcontroller of Metal Slayer Glory. That is like the best, not the best Famicom title, but it's like the biggest. And it's MMC5, which is, yeah, MMC5. All hail to MMC5, yeah. Yeah. And mappers are used in like a lot of NES games, like Legend of Zelda, original Legend of Zelda, like NES version. You mean SNES? No, not SNES. Like NES mapper, good stuff. Not actually clear in my opinion. Thanks for fishing this. 8-bit Rabbit 2000 based on Z80 architecture and what is this? What I'm going to look that up. Rabbit. Oh my goodness, Rabbit semiconductor. Really cool. Similar to EZ80. Z80 has some added new instruction deletions or some instruction. Missing the Rabbit. CPIR. Much more implementation. STR-LEN. Yeah. Yeah, that's a problem. 5 times faster. It's like single instruction. EZ80. EZ80, I think it has like 24-bit address, which is really weird. Okay, integrate peripherals. Okay, got a C compiler, which is that is big. That is big. A patron as a local I'll do the same for mine. What does that actually mean? I don't know. Good job, man. Powerful little CPU. To keep in mind though, one platform demonstrating prominently the MSX. Some for that by the way, it was way underrated. Yes, MSX is way underrated. But I mean, retro computing is never fair. There is one even more underrated than the MSX, and in my opinion, it's way more underrated. It is TO9 Plus. And there's the TO9, but there is also a TO9 Plus, which is like the crazy stuff. 512K of RAM for 8-bit back in the day. Desktop form factor 6809. Hardware accelerated graphics. 16 colors out of 4096. Think about it. This is what I call underrated. But how many people know it? It's a French computer. I know it pretty late in my career, in my hobby into the retro computing. Retro computing, as someone at the comment section, like in the discussion section said earlier, it was for nostalgia. People just like those computers they played in their childhood. again, as I said, the Z80, the ZX Spectrum is not a great computer. It's a horrible computer if you just look at the specs, but people love it, and that's all that matters. For me, it's all that matters. People can love it. Commodore 64, not a great system. I would argue that if you push the Atari 8-bit to the limit, you will see unmatched graphics and sound. Not sound. The SID is the king in sound. Graphics and even CPU raw performance if you push the Atari 8-bit to the limit. But not both at the same time, I know. But Commodore 64 just sold more. I mean, it's just like that. It just sold more. Like MSX, good. Only in Japan, bad. In Europe, good. Not penetrating the English-speaking market, terrible. MSX, good in Japan, good in, I think, Brazil, good in Spain, good in like mainland Europe, bad in UK, bad in US, which basically excluded from YouTube because those are where the English speaking people are at. NASCOM, flip-flop, gates, NMI on the reset instructions to implement breakpoints and single stepping. Drop and reset in place of the original code. Yes, that's what I would do if I want to add a debugger to Monica. That's what she said. I don't know what that's what she said means. It's a slang or meme? I don't know. NMI second M1 cycle, yeah. Wonderful idea. Sense of humor is appreciated. Fallout Pro Logic Analyzer, all the levels. Yeah, this is a prototype. I couldn't consider this format clickbait. If only the clever everything to report on this process. Because I hate clickbaits. I was very cautious about people claiming that I made a clickbait. So I say it beforehand, before people can say it. ADC, 80 home computers. Color Genie, what is that? Frustrated with limitations, building basic interpreter assembly, nice. Assembler code to machine gun. It doesn't have an assembler. Good machine. Found them, poke them into memory, and then use the system on a cookie sheet. What is a cookie sheet? Teaching myself to code in assembler for 65, 88 and Z80 platforms. Retro Attic have been heaven for me. I have one computer, Apple IIe. Yeah, that's quite common. My dad's school had an Apple IIe, had several Apple IIes, 2 PCs, and those PCs were placed in computer labs with anti-static floor, and it's like that Amiga development room. And it's like, ground thyself. It's like they were asked to wear clean clothing, not to bring dust into that room because allegedly it may affect the operation of those XTs. That's how precious XTs were those days back in China. My dad programmed on the 6502, but only in BASIC on the Apple IIe. But he also programmed on the Laser 310, which is the Laser 200, which apparently sold a lot in Australia. That is the weirdest combination I've ever seen. It is Z80 with the Coco graphics chip, which is why The MC6847 is like, I would even say that it's kind of one step down from the TMS. It is really terrible chip. Pre-calculus and doing very well class. Student A, wow. I will for student lower math classes, my teacher. Fiddle with it. Thank you, Mr. Yeah, I know how it feels when your teacher allow you to do tech stuff. Luckily, my teacher did when I was in high school. I changed it by a PC. PCs in the 80s for a teenager. Oh my goodness. Wait. You are the second guy who used Apple II monitor exclusively Apple II. The first guy is myself. Because I just want to learn about assembly. I Core -151. I think that's the entry point for the Apple IIe. I do that when I boot up. First thing, Z80 power. No, Raspberry Pi is too powerful for any Z80 implementation. It is literally gigahertz level and ARM and quad core. No. The answer is no. I'm breaking 3 hours and I'm leaving soon. I'm leaving soon. LBSU portable. TRS-80 portable. That's probably the model 4PE. You might want to watch the Adrian Digital Basement video about it. Graduate use right program, non-English speakers learn the language. Let me fiddle on that computer. Oh my goodness, Medieval is more closed system to be portable. Big boat, yeah. I enjoyed the counter. Osborne executive. I saw one Osborne executive on Chinese eBay. Way too overpriced. Not buying it. Twin floppy drives. Yes. I just found another type of comment that I really like, but I would not encourage my viewers to post. It is this computer memory comments. I really hate to discourage people posting their memories because it's everything about the nostalgia. But this board is like a clean cut from the past. It's like, it's not a clean cut from the past, it's like a cut from the past. And I'm not saying that it's not suitable to post these, like, but it really just dilutes those technical comments, which I really desperately need. There is a term in Chinese. We call it 抛砖引玉, which means we throw a brick out to attract the jade in. This is basically what I made this video for. I throw a brick out. I throw a very or mundane, if not bad, video out to attract these comments to absolutely destroy me in my comment section. But because I have a high confidence in my own work, in my theory. I'm going to defend myself, and I think I'm going to survive, and I want my knowledge to be like that Harry Potter's Gryffindor sword. What doesn't kill me, make me stronger. It's like that. That's the intent and purpose of this video. And this video is to attract, actually, attract like subscribers. I literally threw everything at it. I made a clickbait title and entry. This is the most complicated editing job I've ever done. I scripted it. I literally made a teleprompt so that I can read the script while looking at the camera. Because the script is too long and I don't want to miss a single point. And I draw on MS Paint for so long to make these illustrations. At this moment, pretty much 8. We can views, and this would attract like 10,000 views. And this thing has like overperformed 4,000 times, which is crazy. I mean, it's crazy. I think I'm going to end it now. I'm going to casually go around. I think someone mentioned the 8-bit guy in the comment section. Nope, apparently not, or it's the comment section of another video. So yeah, hey, it worked for me yesterday, so now content is good. Reminds me a bit of Ben Eater. Ben Eater made far greater video, and there's far greater effort into this video. I tried to make those like hand drawn, like paper illustration, like paper substitution. I really love that, and I adopted this. In this video, I tried to change the circuit a bit by a bit, and I actually show you. In this video, I'm going to show you step by step how this seemingly impossible feat is pulled off. In this video, I'm going to show you step by step how this seemingly impossible feat is pulled off. It is, I don't know, I don't check that email a lot, but there's also the concern of reviewing my personal email. I may register a channel email. Well, what's the purpose of that? yeah, the secret feature clickbait got me. I mean, yes. I mean, again, if you think it's a clickbait, apologize. I apologize for that. But I mean, someone once said to me, you need to post 100 videos on YouTube. If I post one video every day, I mean, it would take me 3 months, and I cannot post one video every day, which would take me half a year to reach that goal. And I really need to speed things up. And I watched that channel called Perong, who did like one video about the Ukrainian war that really exploded, and that gave me hope that one video can give you a lot of viewers. And I thought, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to throw everything at it. I'm going to just I'm just going to make this video to get views, to get me viewers, and hopefully get enough support that this thing can rival the Commander X16. So yeah, again, big call out for anyone who can make a PCB. Big call out for anyone who can make a graphics chip. If you know someone who know about PCB and retro computing, or you know someone who can select a graphics subsystem for me, or you know someone who knows someone, please get me. I'm muted? What? Am I muted? Hello? Hello? My OBS says otherwise. My microphone receiver says otherwise. My microphone have pretty good power. What? Oh. Fix above, sorry. PERUN. Yeah, that's the channel. It gave pretty good insight into the war. So I mean, yeah, I am Chinese, so I'm naturally a little bit pro-Russian. I watched his video, and at first he gave a really balanced view, and that hooked me in. Although I can have my own opinion, I only watch videos with strong opinions for fun, and don't take anything from videos with very strong opinion and is not objective. But in that video, I see that kind of objectiveness in it. And then I started dislike his video, not clicking that dislike button, but I started not watching his video because he started lean towards the Ukrainian side. Again, I don't like stop watching because I'm kind of pro-Russian, but I stopped watching because he's leaning towards one side. He's going to say, okay, Ukraine has these problems too, but we'll get into that later. But he never get into that later. Yeah, I'll say that. Yeah, there's some good side about the Russians, and he never talk about it. And he always say in a future video, and I said, you are losing your objectiveness. I'm gonna stop watching you. And then I can confirm that on literally China Central Television, Chinese state media, the report starts leaning on the Ukrainian side. They start reporting wings of the Ukrainian army, and you know, if Chinese state media start reporting the Ukrainian wings, wow, you know something is going on. And then I realized, wow, he's really being objective at that really. CCU. What is CCU? F1 race now. Wow, F1 race. Do one once again, so. Fix above. I mean, they're fixed. See this now. We hear you. Russia. This is really late in the night, so I'm going to make this political joke. I mean, President Xi, his slogan for basically the whole China is 中华民族伟大复兴. Basically, the return to greatness of the Chinese people. And if you say that in plain English, is that make China great again. So yeah. a message in the comments if they reply. But yeah, great shout out to anyone who can make PCB. Great shout out for someone who can suggest a graphics solution. And I'm ending this abruptly because my throat is literally hurting. I'm sorry. So yeah, that's it, guys. And end offline. Yeah, like in the Ultron movie. End offline. Gmail me. My first initial is like jsalesman@gmail.com, right? Right? I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting for that. I think he's gone. Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's it. End offline. Hooray!